What's up guys, my name is Odo and today I'm talking about repeaters, but specifically repeater builds with a focus on damage, and 3 behemoth fights that I enjoy using these builds on. The first build is Ragetail Rendezvous, and for repeaters I'm using the advanced barrel because I like the way it sounds, the ballistic chamber because I prefer it over marksman chamber on most fights, especially Ragetail, Admiral's Grip because it's just overall better DPS from my experience and from my testing, and Eclipse Prism because I can keep on Ragetail almost the entire fight, making sure that I keep my stacks up relatively high the entire time. For the gear, I'm using Koshai's helmet because it gives me Evasive Fury and it gives me Predator along with a technique slot, Drask's chestplate which gives me +1 sharpened which helps me break parts to give me a window for DPS along with +3 Rage Hunter in the chest piece, Koshai gloves because Predator, along with the power slot for Rage Hunter, Koshai's feet because Predator and Evasive Fury, along with a utility slot for Conduit, and Drask's Fury because Drask's Fury is insanely broken, and I have +3 Conduit in that as well. When it comes to fighting Ragetail with repeaters, the biggest thing is reload management and making sure that you get a reload off at the opportune times. And the most opportune time to do this is when he's first starting his enrage phase. When you start like stomping his feet and doing that whole jazz, you want to try and reload at the very beginning of that so you can DPS it through that phase. And at the end of it, you reload again to keep DPSing it because it normally does a tail slam after it is fully enraged. And with repeaters, you can DPS through that entire phase if you play your cards right. And the rest of the fight is making sure you hit the parts you want to hit, and once you break a part, you move on to the next one. Because as you can see, I broke its legs, its arm, and its face, keeping it pretty much in a permanent stagger towards the end. The next build is Koshai Kebab, and for this build, on repeaters, I changed the barrel from standard to an inferno barrel because Koshai is weak to fire. As for the gear, I changed the chest piece from Drask to Riftstalker, slotting in a +3 Aethic Attunement. For the gloves, I swapped them from Koshai to Ragetail, keeping the +3 Rage Hunter in the gloves. And for the lantern, I swapped from Drask's Fury to Embermane's Rapture, keeping the +3 Conduit. When fighting Koshai, the one thing you really want to do is try and dodge its initial air attack, because if you get hit, you'll get wounded and take damage, and if you're using Predator like I do, you'll be down Predator. Also, when you dodge his tail swipes, if you dodge the first one, you are safe from the second one, pretty much no matter what. There are some cases where you dodge at a weird angle and it won't count it, but for the most part, if you dodge one tail swipe, you're safe. The same thing happens for Ragetail, and I believe Pangar now. And just like on any other behemoth, when you're using repeaters, make sure you're focusing parts to try and get those breaks to give yourself more damage windows. And one thing that I do is I use my Q before my right click, so I can have the 15% increased bonus attack speed and damage before casting my right click. And when it comes to your Q, it does not have to be empowered if you're playing solo, but your right click should be empowered to give yourself pretty much 3 times more damage for that attack. The last build is Reza Reindeer because I don't have an idea guy. But for repeaters, I changed the mobility slot from agility to +3 swift because you're not going to be dodging that often on this fight most of the time. And I also changed the barrel from Inferno to Twilight because Reza is weak to Umbral. For the armor and the cells on the armor, I'm using exactly what I did on the Ragetail Rendezvous build at the beginning of the video, which is the Koshai headpiece with +3 Predator, Drask chest piece with +3 Rage Hunter, Koshai gloves with +3 Rage Hunter as well, Koshai feet with +3 Conduit, and Drask's Fury lantern with +3 Conduit. Now for the Rezakiri fight itself, what I always do is run up to it and get my empowered reload in, and it normally does a variance of movesets, but it doesn't matter what it does, try and get your DPS in when you can and dodge when you have to, as well as keeping your empowered reload up as much as possible, which you can do whenever it does its slam from the air to the ground, or whenever it's sliding away. You can get your reload off as it's moving away, so you can get next to it again and DPS for a good amount of time before having to reload again. And the same mechanic exists for Rezakiri as does for Koshai and Ragetail. If you dodge the first tail swipe, you do not have to dodge the second one. So don't worry about it if you're confident you dodged the first tail swipe. And other than that, it's about making sure that you dodge into its drop downs to make sure you keep up your evasive fury, as well as focusing on the parts that you have access to, such as Tail Gem when it's in the air doing the disco move, or the claws whenever it's on the ground. And anytime else, you can focus on the head because it's pretty easy to hit, and it's actually the easiest part to hit on Rezakiri other than the tail. Which, by the way, the tail is super hard to break, so I would not focus on that part of Reza, and instead on the ones I stated previously. And with that, that is the end of another video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, let me know in the comments, and if you didn't, let me know as well. I want to know what I did wrong, what I did right, so I can improve, because the whole point of me doing these videos is to find out what you guys like, what you guys enjoy. The main thing I'm curious about is, was the combination of builds and tips into one video helpful, or was it confusing? Because I want to know if I should do it again or not. Because initially I wanted to just do a build video, but the builds for damage repeaters that I have are pretty bland in case you guys didn't notice. So it wouldn't have been fun to just do a video on that. But all that aside, if you guys did like the video, hit that like button, and if you want to, you can subscribe to the channel for more. And until next time, I've been Doe, and I put the pie in try, and I'll see you guys later.